A school in East Boston has gone to the head of the class for dramatic improvement. The nonprofit EdVestors recently announced the Donald McKay K-8 School as the winner of $100,000 for being this year's School on the Move. To explain the reasons are the school's principal, Jordan Weymer, and from EdVestors, the acting president and CEO, Marinell. Rousmaniere. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you.
I'll start with Jordan. I think this has been something like a 6-year climb. You were there at the beginning. How was it at the start?
It was a very different place than what it is now. 6 years ago, we were in the bottom 6 percentile of schools in Massachusetts, and through the hard work of a dedicated staff and families and students, we've been able to really change the culture and climate of the school to one that really thrives on collaboration, thrives on creating an environment where students are loved and respected and welcomed, and families are appreciated and loved and welcomed and respected. So. It's a very different environment, a very different school than what it was 6 years ago.
Marinell, what made this school the pick? I know test scores had something to do with it, but what's the real story here?
Yeah, well, we had 3 amazing finalists, the McKay, the Perry K-8, and Snowden International, and it's a difficult choice. Certainly the quantitative data is our first look, and as Jordan talked about, they were in the bottom 6% of the school 5 years ago across the state. Now they're surpassing the district average. And then when we looked further into the story of what was happening in that building, which is really the driver behind the School on the Move prize, is sort of what's replicable, what strategies can be lifted up for other schools to replicate. It really was the climate and culture around a population of students that reflect a changing city and a school that has embraced that change to serve that community well. And the practices they've put in place to ensure that there was rigorous instruction happening for the diverse needs of learners that they have, regular education students, students who are learning English, who are emerging bilinguals, as the folks at the McKay call them, who make up more than half of the student body in that building. So really about the community it was created, around the instruction, and around the way the school is using resources to improve its outcomes.
Jordan, you have a lot of students from immigrant families, mainly speaking Spanish at home. What did you do different with these students and the families?
So we always made it a point to make sure that the little things were done. So making sure that there was always someone in the main office who spoke the language, the primary language of our family, someone who could answer the phone and speak, the language that our families use at home. Making sure that we reached out to families through little things like coffee hours, where families could come in and you could feel safe and feel like they can have a conversation with me, where we just sit around and have coffee and talk about their children and talk about the school. I think from that family perspective, making the families feel that they had a voice in the school was incredibly important for us. And from the curriculum side of things, we really built a culture where we look at the students that are in front of us every single day, and we make the decisions that we need to make to ensure that they're getting what they need day to day. Our teachers come together all the time to plan really well-structured lessons together. They come together to look at student performance together. They come together to talk about students in really positive ways and think of ways to better serve them. And I think that culture and that community of collaboration has really made such a huge difference for the instructional practices at our school. And for our students, I'm incredibly biased. We end all of our big student events with 2 things, right? We say we love them very much, and we say that they're the best kids in the city. And I'm sure many principals throughout the city can say that about their students. But our students, we knew from the start, they deserved the absolute best, and we were going to do everything for them. And they're an amazing group of boys and girls, young men and young women, who have really taken on a wonderful role in empowering themselves and becoming more of a powerful voice in our school and in our community, and we're incredibly proud of them.
Now, part of this formula here is getting the parents more in touch with the school. How does that trickle down to what the students do academically, you think?
Well, we know that family involvement and community engagement are one of the pillars of the practices of schools that see improvement. And so when families feel like the school is part of their community and they have an open relationship with the principal through coffee hours, with the teacher who makes themselves accessible, they can really be partners in supporting their students both academically and in their social and emotional needs.
Jordan, I know one thing that I think is a problem for many immigrant families, no matter where they're from, is that kids grow up thinking that the immigrant culture is sort of inferior, that they're not proud of it, and because they get messages from the outside saying they shouldn't be. But in your school, they get a different message. How do you do that?
Very different. Well, it's, again, little things. Honoring the fact that they're becoming bilingual is huge. Referring to our students as emerging bilinguals is a huge, subtle, small thing that you can do that empowers students. Giving students voice and giving students choice. We're working very hard on allowing students to choose where they work in the classroom, what types of activities that they're doing. Student government, allowing our students to really meet and hold student forums where students can express themselves and know that they'll be heard. You know, they know that they're represented. And giving students the opportunity to go above and beyond, to explore ideas. You know, we say no very often. And I think that that's really a powerful motivator for our students, and things like coming together after the Parkland shooting, where we wanted to do something about that, and we talked about taking action about that. And our students did an amazing job of putting together not just a week-long remembrance for that, but also activities that followed that, where we had the NICE movement, where students were nice and kind to one another, or our Immigrant Pride Week, where they completely and totally organized everything and made contacts with city officials and the police to make sure we didn't need permits because we marched around East Boston. So allowing students the opportunities to really flex their sort of muscles and become social advocates and agents of change has been a huge difference for us.
Well, I imagine one reason you picked a school is that you want to see this done elsewhere in the school system. What about that?
So one of the primary focuses of the School on the Move Prize is not just celebrating the school and giving them resources to further their efforts, but also researching and documenting what they accomplish and how as a blueprint for other schools. So we will be doing that in the coming months to elevate the story of the McKay and be able to share that with other schools here in Boston and beyond.
All right, thank you both very much, Marinell Rousmaniere and Jordan Weymer.